Welcome to this special edition of Powering Our Community. I'm Leesburg City Commissioner Dan Roebuck, and today we're going to be talking about the city's electric department and its importance to the city. My first guest is City Manager Al Minner. Al, thanks for being here today.
Dan, thank you very much.
So, most residents know we have a utility department because they get a bill each month, but I think a lot of people don't really understand just how big the city's utility is. Can you give us a little insight there?
Absolutely. Our utility system's about 25,000 customers in our metropolitan service area. So our service area covers almost all of Northwest Lake County. We're growing at a pretty good clip here. Where I think we're in that bracket to where we're not a small utility, but we're not a big giant one either, which I think really helps us provide quality service, responsiveness to the customers. So I think we're that perfect Cinderella, not too big, not too small, but just right.
Great. And in terms of revenue, most people when they think of a city, they think of what we call our general fund, so police, fire, recreation, parks, things like that. And now that budget's around $25 million, I believe. In context, how big is the city utility budget?
The city entire budget, like you were saying, is about $165 million. Of that, the general fund's about 28 or 30 million. All of our utilities are about 125 million, and of that number, the electric fund's about 70 million. Okay, so it's the lion's share of our budget.
Yeah, so it's more than twice as big as the actual general fund itself. So it really matters for the city's kind of financial future and how we operate.
And every year we do the budget, and you get a budget book like about this thick, right? About 500 pages, and it's got 1 million lines because we do a line item budget. And there's one line in all of the 500 pages that's about 30% of our budget, which is the wholesale number, about $40 million every year. One number in that whole big book.
Wow, there's some big numbers for sure. And speaking of numbers, I know when you came in, and I think was it 2014? I believe?
13, yeah.
2013, okay.
Yep.
The city of Leesburg, I believe we were the second highest electric cost in the state, right behind Gainesville. Not a great place to be, but I know you've worked really hard. Can you talk a little bit about the steps that were taken and where we are now?
Yeah, one of the pitches that I gave the city commission when you all hired me back then was we have to be a utility first. Municipal utilities are great because of the benefits they provide community in terms of just our ability to respond to our system issues, but then also the monies that they help provide for public benefit. But it's a double-edged sword. And so one of the first things that we talked about and established when you hired me was to bring that rate down, to be a utility first, and we put together a strategy to reduce our rate. Back at that time, I think our rate was upwards of about, in the industry, we measure that first 1,000 kilowatts of residential sales. That's kind of the ruler of where you're at in terms of competitivity. But we were like about $138 a month for that first 1,000. That put us at the bottom. And we were on this scale to increase. We did a 5% increase for 3 years, and I think we were on a 3-year term. We ran that, and we didn't do the third increase where we were scheduled to go to about 142, and instead we went the other direction. And since that time, we put together, if you recall, we put together a 5-point plan that took our power cost adjustments, our savings, from different areas. We had that settlement from Duke on the Crystal River issues, and we had some other issues, and we put that strategy together, and we brought our rate down pretty much in a year to about 117, where we've been hanging out. Then when gas got really inexpensive, we gave that right back to the customers. We got down to about 105, 103 for a few months, and now we're hanging out about 112. So we've really made our price number one. We put our utility first, we respond first, and then we still have those public benefits.
Unlike a Duke, if you have a complaint with your power with Duke, you can't call up the decision makers at Duke. You can call 1-800 number and talk to customer service, and that's it. But when people in the state of Leesburg have power, they come to their commissioner, or they can come to you, but they actually can talk to people, and I think that's another benefit that's often overlooked, having a local utility. And then one of the other ones I think is the when a hurricane hits. So I think the most when hurricanes hit, that's when people love their utility the most, or hate. But
Yep.
in our case, Hurricane Irma, I remember we restore power very quickly. Can you talk a little bit about how that worked, how quickly we were able to do it, and what went on there?
Absolutely, and I think I can give some interesting perspective to this. I have been a city manager, as you know, about 25 years, and I've served in 4 communities. 3 of the 4 communities have been municipal electric utilities. So when I was in Missouri, I saw how we responded in time of snow, because it was Littleburg out there in the middle of Missouri, not much is around us, and it was on us to get up. When I was in Fort Meade, Florida, I was lucky or unlucky enough to be there in the 2004 hurricanes. So we dealt with Charlie, Francis, and Jean. And then here we've had some hurricane issues as well. And here's the difference. When it's run by the municipal utility, you've got local crews. You know who the guys are up on the line. So you know here in Leesburg, we're going to call Greg David, or we're going to call Brad. And we have a direct connection with the guys who are working on there. And so in those times, our system set up that I'm kind of the PIO, getting information directly from Brad and Greg to commissioners. And you guys are letting everybody know up front where the guys are at, what the priorities are, what circuits come back. It's not dissimilar, I don't think, to the IOUs, but what it is it's a lot closer and it's a lot faster, because at the end of the day, we just have a better communication network. We have more guys per line mile. Even though they're a bigger utilities, the IOUs, and we're smaller, we've got more guys per line mile, so we get the lines back up quicker. And case in point, I don't hold me to this, but I think that was Governor Scott, right? The last hurricane, it was Matthew or one of those. The names start to blend, but he set a goal for the state, which was he wanted the lights back on in 72 hours. Or I think it was 95% of your customers back up in 72 hours. We did it in like little under 30 hours. So, and I think it's because of that network. And so now compare that, as I started the question, I have some difference of experience, because the other community, the non-electric municipal community I was a manager of, is Sebastian, an FPL community. And when you went through a couple hurricanes there as well, and not having that direct connection is you're left kind of, that's not that the investor owns don't get it done, but you don't know what's going on as much, because they're prioritizing their customers as we are ours. And when you're spread out over that big FPL network or a Duke network or an IOU network, and you're that little house that's on the end of the line, you don't know when that's coming. FPL does, Duke does, but they don't get the message out because they're so big. But we get it out. I think we do better at informing our customers. And again, we've just got more line miles. We've got a great mutual aid network. We've gotten awards in the last few years from other communities who've helped us. So I think the munis just do a great job at restoration.
Yeah, so a couple of terms you threw out there that people may not know. An IOU.
Investor-owned utility.
Okay, so that's like the Duke and the Florida Power.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. And then you mentioned mutual aid. Can you explain that a little bit?
Okay, so every utility, whether you're an investor-owned or a co-op or a city, has a mutual aid agreement. So when a big event comes and you need the folks out there to get the system back up, we have agreements that says, if you're down, we'll come help you. If I'm down, you'll come help me. And so those are referred to as mutual aid agreements. Everybody does it. My experience is the municipal mutual aid, and I think we do it great. With FMPA and our other association, Florida Municipal Electric Association, Amy Zubli over there at FMEA really does a great job of coordinating how if Homestead's down, Leesburg can go help you, or KUA or OUC, or vice versa. If Tallahassee has trouble and the storm hits up north, then the southern utilities of the state go up north. And we've even got other states like Louisiana and Texas just saw hurricanes hit. Last year we sent guys up to North Carolina. So there's a real strong network here in the state, and then those state agencies reach out to other munis around the nation. So we really do a great job communicating, getting the forces out, and not as it's just statewide, but it's intrastate.
Okay, great. And then when we talk about the, kind of the people here, you know who they are. They live here locally. They only work for Leesburg, our linemen. but also, which is helpful to have those jobs in the community. As part of that, I believe the electric department has some apprenticeship programs. Can you talk about those programs?
That's another thing I think the munis do really well is we train our own. So we started an apprentice program that's approved by the state. The Department of State reviews all those programs. So you can start out as a groundman, and those guys you see out when you're on the road and they're helping the linemen. They're generally doing some of the traffic and direction. The linemen are up on the poles. And from that, you can kind of bump up. So we have a 4-year program where we'll teach you electric distribution skills. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, you get your journeyman card punched, and then you go into a different pay scale of journeyman. So we've done that in conjunction with some of the other IOUs like Duke. Lake Sumter College is a partner with us in that, and then some of the other utilities. So I think we do a really good job of training our folks.
Yeah, it's a great career opportunity. I think a lot of people don't know about it or think about that career. You don't need a college degree to do that. You can do this 4-year program instead and get paid the entire way through while you're getting your training. And then at the end of the program as a lineman, ballpark an hour. What are these guys?
Yeah, and we're regional competitive too. We've worked on that to get our wages up. And a journeyman, after you've gone through that program, journeyman's going to make probably anywhere between $40 to $48 an hour.
Wow.
Statewide, we're about 45 right now, so we're equal to SECO, we're equal to Mount Dora and our competitors, because we were seeing guys leave to get other jobs. So, I mean, if you're a kid out there, I'm talking to you kids, and you're coming out, I think what we don't do is we don't put enough influence on really how good those trade jobs are and how important they are. And the baby boomers are aging, so that the next generation is the millennials that need to get out there and help us keep the lights on. And we're losing line workers. So keeping that filled it's a good trade job. It's a good benefits. We just talked about the pay, good. And then the overtime opportunities, and it's a great trade. It's a trade that you're always going to have job security, and it's something to think about, kids. So think about being an electric lineman.
Great, thanks. And then switching gears a little bit, of course, everything nowadays ends up talking about COVID a little bit. So COVID, it's been tough on a lot of people. A lot of people lost their jobs, which means they're staying at home more, maybe using more power at home, or if they're a business owner, their sales are down, but their electric bill doesn't really change a whole lot. How has the electric department been able to help with COVID issues?
I think we've been there for folks. We've had our own systems. We've had some issues where we've had to spread out some of our workforce. But I think the best way that we've been there for COVID is you haven't seen a glitch in your service. We've used more personal protection equipment. We've made sure that everybody's still on. We've come up with strategies to deal with folks who may be affected with COVID, with the PPEs and that type of stuff. So, the biggest thing that we've done has been to make sure that we've aligned our system so that our workers are protected, and so then in turn, if you're struggling or you have been affected, we can still have ways to change out your meter or get you connected or respond. And not just on the line, that doesn't just go for the actual hardware of distribution. Probably the other side of the equation we didn't talk too much is the customer service side, where we still got to bill you. There's still collections. We helped a lot in that respect too on COVID. With suspending utility bill payments for disconnection fees and that type of thing, and then working to get folks back up. We put together too a big fund of monies to help for people who've been affected by COVID, lost their jobs, and weren't able to pay their utility bills, so we transferred some funds around. And what did we put together? A fund of about $150,000 to help with utility payments. So whether it's out on the system or customer service or relaxing some of our policies on billing, your local officials controlled that, and I think we did a great job responding to COVID.
Well, great. Well, that's a lot of great information. I think the viewers all learn a lot about what our power system does, how it works, and more importantly, all the benefits that it provides to Leesburg and the community here. So I really appreciate you coming on. And when we come back, I'll be joined by Jacob Williams, who is the CEO of the Florida Municipal Power Agency.